Okay, so let's go ahead and finish this up. We're now talking about properties, and so first I want to show you the property status. There's a lot of these support files here, and the property status is something that generates an action item. So I only have a couple of email messages built. They're down here. I just have these two emails messages built. The trigger date is on the listing date, and the offset days in this case is how many days after the listing date, how many days after the listing date, 14. So this is two letters that are going to go out based on the listing date, and then you can generate some more messages, and you and I can talk about that. But let's go back and look at the property status and see where these get applied. So in property status, you can have letters associated with any of these statuses, and the only one I'm interested right now is listed. So if I go to listed, you can see that there are two letters. I'm not sure why that says two. No, it said one. Well, that's fine. Let's do this. I'm going to delete both of these. I'm going to check them, and let's remove them so you can see how this is built. So when you first would come in here, there's no letters associated. So let's add an email item to this property status, and so the choices will come up here, and your selections are down here. So we'll select, first of all, we want this one, and then we want to add, I think that two came from a previous one that I had added out there before. That's why I went and modified it. And then we want to go add another one, and the other one is this 2-week notice. So here are the action items associated with this particular status. I'm going to try this one. I don't think I have this installed yet. Let's see. Yeah, not. So let's just come back here, and then we'll go ahead and save this. And then let's go look at properties, and let's see what happens. Let's pick this property here. You notice that the status is that the listing has been started, but it hasn't. It just means that we got the name and we haven't really got a signature or anything like that on the listing. So we'll click select, and we'll go look at the action plan as it exists right now, and there's nothing. There's nothing there. So we will change this status to listed. Now this goes back again to the question that I brought up before about the transactions. If this listed status is generated by a transaction, you would think that it would get that status, and oops, I'm going to do this every time you change the status, you have to tell it what to do. But you would think that the listing would also give me the listing date and a listing expire date. Now these I already had in there from when I've been playing around with it before. Normally at this point these would be blank. So let's pretend that those are blank when we got here. So then I would have to say, okay, what's the listing date? It's today or whatever. So let's go ahead and say it was listed today, and that the expiration date is maybe 60 days away, somewhere right in there somewhere. Okay. And you can tell me if there are defaults, like all listings expire in 60 days, or if there's a number of days you want to put on there. In other words, if you want to put the listing date and then the number of days. But my guess is you want to build a transaction that somewhere you click on something that says create a new listing. When you do that, it's going to have on it the status of listed, the listing date, the listing expire date, the listing price, the listing agent type, which this one is an internal agent, one of your agents. If it's listed by someone outside your agency, you would put external. Okay, and you can choose your agents here. And then we're going to say update. And then if we go look at this property and look at the action plan, you notice that now those two letters that were associated with the listing status are there. Okay. All right. And then you can also go to the calendar and let's see. Let me think. I'm going to put this on pause for a minute so I can think what's happening here. Okay, I know what happened. That's a little bug I've got to fix, but I'll describe for you what happened. Remember when we first changed the status to listed? At that time, there was already a listing date in here, and that listing date was on 4/22. So it generated the action plan based on what was in there at the time. So let's clean it up so I can show you how to fix this real quick. We'll get rid of these dates. We'll update. And then we'll go back here. We'll change the status to something else, back to the way it was. And we'll save it. Now this message right here, you're going to get every time you change the status. And you have your choice of remove, if you're changing the status, you can say, okay, at this point I want to remove all the previous action items and just add the actions for this new status. Or you can say, the other actions need to take place anyway, so go ahead and keep the previous action items and merge in with the actions that are happening for this new status. In this case, since I'm trying to clear it out, I'm just going to do this. And then when we come back here, go look at the action plan, and there's nothing there. And you'll notice that this says the listing date is blank. So once we say we want it to be listed, we can say listed, and then actually when we click on listing, it's going to have us do this again. And then let's see, that's not going to work. Let's close this back, and we're going to go to listing first. We have to do it in backwards order. This is why I'm thinking that we really need a transaction that does this in the right order. So the right order is, first of all, to put the listing date of, let's say, 5/7, and listing expiration date of July 7. And then we come back to the summary and change the listing to listed, and then I think we'll get what I'm looking for here. Update. And then if I go look at the action plan, now my dates are right. So the dates have to be put in first, and then you select listed, and then they're right. So I don't want you to have to remember that. I want you to have to do it that way. I'll come up with a transaction form or a button that you press that says, create the listing, and it will take the listing date, change the status, build this stuff all at the same time. I'm just showing you how it works in this rough form right now. Okay, so we'll say done on that. And then let's go look at the calendar. So those items should have popped up. There's the 8th, the listing, thank you letters going out here. And then 2 weeks after that, the letters going out, the 2-week letter will go out. So the listing, thank you, and this, and it tells you the address on there. If I click on this, it will take me, it'll show me that that's an action item, listing, thank you, there's the date, and basically just says the same thing. Save. Okay? Alright, so I'm going to close this one, and then we'll do one more video tonight to show you some of the offer information that we've done.